Red Sox also back in, Zoe. They won 10-2. Now, before we let Milliken off the leash here, because I know he wants to jump right in.
No, he doesn't.
Are you buying the Red Sox right now, 5 in a row?
I said this yesterday. You can't make your own schedule. You got to play who you play, and we're going to end up doing this in football. And I'm just repeating myself from yesterday because it's going to get to a point where you run some games off, and we're going to start doing path talk. You know what I'm saying, Dondero?
I know.
We're going to get to path talk in November.
Love path talk.
So should I devalue a win then? But like a win's a win. That's a win. When's the last time Bale's gone a whole game? Never. Like nobody thought that was going to happen yesterday. I mean, they're playing the worst team in baseball. It's the worst pitching staff. They're hitting fastballs. They're hitting better. They're scoring runs. And they're saving a bullpen. So take it for what it's worth right now. You got this. You got another series, and then you get a little break. Get to it. Don't F this up. That's what I got to say about just don't F this thing up right now. Because right now, you're doing okay.
Beetle thought that the Rockies might take one from the Red Sox. Man, the Rockies, historically bad. We talked about watching them these past 2 nights. They are so bad. So bad.
When we fixed baseball a week ago, did we eliminate them?
Yes, we
did,
contracted
yes.
the Rockies, and that was the right decision, by the way. Right decision.
Good.
Dondero, you buying the Red Sox right now?
Absolutely not. Not even. No. They were 10 games over 500 at the All-Star break last year. Why should I buy this team right now? Look, there's a little bit of a honeymoon period going on, I think, after the Rafael Devers trade, and you know, you get a little bit of breath of fresh air. I'm not buying into anything. Nothing. Okay? These teams suck. Did you see some of the pitches they swung at last night? These sweepers that Bayo was... That was a joke. That was minor leagues. They missed those pitches by a mile. I like what they're doing. I like kind of the vibe of it. You know, the young guys are up. They're contributing. You know, their errors are down. Or their percentages are a little bit down since Devers was traded.
They still have their stupid plays, trying to steal third base and stuff. Yeah.
Even last night, they got doubled. I mean, on a line drive, I think it was Story who hit the line drive. Whoever was it Romy? Somebody on second base just starts running. Now, he might have thought he had a read. He might have thought he knew it. But it was like you freeze on a line drive. You don't start running. That was a stupid play until they clean some of those things up. And they have been for years going in the wrong direction. It's going to take more than a stretch against the Nationals and the Rockies. And by the way, did you look at their schedule after the All-Star break?
Yeah, it is a murderer's row.
So forget about that. Just talk to me after the Rays series when we get to the All-Star break. Because if they lose 3 of 4 to Tampa, I go right back down. So I like what. Hey, you know we got a show to do today, as those guys, as Mike and Tony always say. You got to see where they go because I'm not buying anything right now.
Milliken, I saw you sort of peacocking there on Twitter last night after that win.
You're not cocking this, are you?
It's fun. It's nice to have some enjoyable moments. Yeah. But, you know, if you're being realistic and you go through the Nationals and the Rocky series, are any of these starting pitchers guys that would be starting for another major league team? More likely than not, no. These are the 2 teams with the fewest wins in all the National League. The Rockies are worse than the White Sox, who last year were the worst team we ever saw. And I think their play, even Ceddanne Rafaela tagging up at first base yesterday on a ball to center field, getting lucky that there was a misfire on the play to second base. He would have been easily tagged out as well. No, I don't think you're getting too excited or too crazy about any of this. I think you could tip your cap to Brian Bayo, who looks like the second half of last year, bare minimum, is the real Brian Bayo, someone who's going to be a number 3 starter moving forward. I do think that's a pretty big developmental piece. But Trevor Story, Ceddanne Rafaela, Romy Gonzalez, 3rd highest OPS in the sport right now against left-handed pitchers. The only 2 guys ahead of him, Aaron Judge and Cal Raleigh. We're talking the 2 best bats in the sport this year. So I think Romy's an incredible lefty masher, but Ceddanne Rafaela and Trevor Story carrying the offense, it makes me nervous. But I think if you want to be positive, if you want to look at what you should believe in, look at the AL wildcard race right now. You're 1 game out of that 3rd wildcard spot, and that's not even the most interesting part of it to me. It's below you. The Rangers are 2.5 games behind you. They're the next closest team to you. The Royals 4 games behind. The Angels 4 games behind. The Twins 4 games behind. All these teams have really gone in the gutter. You can't take any real long-term positives until they go through the Rays in that gauntlet after the All-Star break, but they haven't handled business against bad teams the last couple years. To see them doing that right now, yeah, you can feel good about it. It's just don't go crazy. But I think some people are going crazy, and that's where you're going to hit a bit of a wall in the next 2 weeks.
So I'm not going crazy either. I'm with all you guys in terms of not getting overly excited about beating up on the Nationals and the Rockies. That being said, does it change your approach, Milliken, when it comes to the deadline and what you're willing to do if you're Craig Breslow?
if I was Craig Breslow, I'd still be waiting to see what it looks like when you play against that best competition. But I think for him, a guy who wants to buy and has signaled over and over again that he wants to buy, someone who last year made it very clear, I don't believe in sitting in the middle and trying to do both. You pick a lane and you ride. I think giving them any belief that, hey, with better than 30% playoff odds, that's a pathway, Craig Breslow's smiling right now because he has his justification to do it.
You're going to buy, Zo?
No, I'm not buying.
If the offense is on a tear and you're winning all these games in a row and you know you have all these tough games coming up, why wouldn't you, as a boon, add someone right now around the All-Star break? I know he said he wasn't going to do it, but why wouldn't you just change your approach and do that and pull the trigger on something?
Because they have two guys.
You're adding,
they're
or you're
getting
giving
back
up
in
a
the
guy
next
like
5
Jaron
days.
Durant. Though. Like, what are we doing here?
Well,
We're
that's
giving up
part
a player?
of it. But you're getting Bregman. You're getting Yoshida back tonight, and Bregman
Right.
likely
Okay.
in the next 3
Then
or
get a
4
pitcher.
days.
See, I keep Durant. Like, if this is going to continue, like, he's one of the few players I like. I like Durant. And I know he's had his issues this year.
9-game hitting
But-
streak, though. Yesterday, 456
What do you,
foot
what do you
bomb.
As a
get? What do you
bomb.
get in return for him?
So I'm up for giving up a piece, but I want like major league talent back in return, right? I would want like
Make
a
a
legit
big league
baseball
trade.
trade. Yes, exactly.
That's-
I don't
Well, you
want
should have done that with your
prospects anymore.
damn DH. Should have done it with Rafael Devers.
Yeah.
That's where you should have got something back in return.
I think that's
did.
where you look at the Duran thing, and Spear had another piece that came out this morning saying they're not shopping, but they're listening on Abreu.
And Duran,
Guess what?
yeah.
You said the same thing about Rafael Devers. Well, listen, but we're not shopping. You're not trying to show everyone that we're trying to make the move because the whole sport knows, and it's in that Spear article, everyone's zoning in on you because they know you have to move a piece here. You're not going to want to sit one of Duran or Abreu whenever you're facing a right-handed pitcher. That's just not good organizational management. So I think for Craig Breslow right now, he's probably looking for a deal where can I get a controllable arm that I can place in this rotation between Bayo and Crochet that will not only help this year and the years ahead. Is that a Joe Ryan? Is it someone like that? I think that's the ideal dream, but finding that piece, so many teams don't want to give up young, controllable pitching. Sandy Alcantara even having a bad year, but if you believe it with what he's getting paid the next couple years, less than $20 million each season, all right, that's the kind of move where you really put it on the table. It's just whether Breslow's going to do that. And to Breslow's credit, he's not scared of bold moves. You just have to make it, and you have to be willing to accept, maybe I'm not getting the full return I wanted on a Durant, but it makes us better today. They did that with Devers. It's just another version of it.
They absolutely have to buy. And I'm not just talking about buy, go through the motions and they do a little deal that's really garbage and it doesn't matter. I'm talking about a real trade for a real major leaguer. Like you said, T-Mac, you need a real trade. Because even if you make the playoffs, it's not good enough. You still have to buy back or you have to get back a lot of the belief in the ownership and the vision and the philosophy of the entire organization that they're actually trying to win. You can't just have an accidental playoff berth, do nothing, and then you go back to, like Zoe said, getting rid of Rafael Devers for nothing in return. Nothing.
That
Why
wasn't
don't
a
you get
baseball trade.
something-
That
get
was a
something in
salary
return?
dump.
That was a salary dump.
Yep.
You
You're
need
talking about a baseball trade.
Baseball trade. That's what they have to do. This whole season, I think, will come down to the trade deadline. It's not about, they technically they bought. You need to get somebody real. That's a baseball that's going to help you now. Get to the playoffs now. That's what they have to do. Absolutely. I like Duran. I'll trade Duran. I'd love a Jake Peavy. Remember the Jake Peavy deal? I like a trade like that. Give me somebody like that to come in, be a 2-3, somebody I know is going to be able to pitch in the major leagues right now. Do something like that, and then we'll see where we are. Okay, then I'll believe more, especially if they get through this next stretch and look pretty good.
Wanted to bring this up because in terms of taking credit, hitting coach for the Boston Red Sox interviewed with Alex Spear. Alex Spear writing an article for the Globe. For much of the season, fastballs were the Red Sox weakness. Here's how they flipped the script. Spear talks about how they've been attacking the Red Sox with fastballs with great success up until recently. Alex Cora was asked about that, saying, quote, "We're not striking out, right? I think that's telling the story. We're putting the ball in play. We still have some holes like everybody else, but I think we're not striking out as much as we were 3 weeks ago." Spear writes, asked to clarify what happened 3 weeks ago, Cora implicitly referenced the June 15th decision to trade Rafael Devers to the Giants as a landmark. Different personnel. I mean, let's be honest. That's part of this. This is a different group than just 3 weeks ago, and I think the guys that we have now, they put the ball in play, and in those situations, they catch up with the fastball against lefties and against righties, and we've just gotten better. So before we even get into the Pete Fatsie stuff, Alex Cora right under the bus when it comes to Rafael Devers. And the solution offensively for the Red Sox was to eliminate their best hitter, Milliken, get him out of the lineup, and that's really allowed them to sort of blossom here.
Yeah, tell me how this makes any sense.
It doesn't. Like, if you're just being 100% honest about the equation, and listen, Roman Anthony has come up and he's looked really good. You're getting him in that DH spot pretty frequently, at least with the current outfield alignment. What it really is, Trevor Story, before the last, going back to when Devers was traded, had a 30% K percentage in every single season as a member of the Red Sox. You go over to the last couple weeks, it's down to 22%. Ceddanne Rafaela cutting his whiff rate by 11% and becoming a totally different hitter. When you have guys like that who take this step you never saw coming or are reaching levels they never have in this uniform, I think that has a little bit more to do with it than, taking out a guy in Rafael Devers who has an expected slug of 500 against fastballs this year. Say no matter what you will, he strikes out 24% of the time. Let's get a grip here.
Milliken and Spear right on it, by the way. Spear writes, Rafaela has cut his whiff rate from 24% on fastballs before the Devers trade to 13% since. While Trevor Story has had a fairly steady swing and miss rate against fastballs this year, he started to punish the Heat in the zone with 3 homers off of 95-plus mile-per-hour pitches since the beginning of June. Game planning, conversation, practice, just stressing it and just constantly reminding the guys our approach is built off the fastball for the most part, said Red Sox hitting coach Pete Fatsie, saying that that's been the difference so far. Instead, with their recent individualized game plans rather than group meetings, and we talked about this at the end of last week, how they made this switch and now they're talking individually to players instead of doing these group meetings for hitters. Team hitting coaches have been working with players not only to be ready for fastballs, but to understand the shape and location of those heaters and the shape of a swing necessary to get to those fastballs. Quote, for every fastball tilt or shape, you have to have a swing to cover that. We've had our way of describing that for every guy based on their strengths. The more individualized discussion coincides roughly with a 9-game offensive eruption in which the Red Sox have averaged 8.4 runs. 8.4 runs, and that went up last night since they hung 10 on the Rockies. So just to recap what we're talking about here. Red Sox can hit fastballs now because they got rid of their best hitter, who was really a strain on the lineup.
He was holding them all down, McKone. Come on.
Guys like Trevor Story have
Are they hitting crap pitching? Like,
You're talking about the 28th and 30th team in ERA.
taken off recently because now the hitting coach is meeting with players individually instead of as a group. And on top of that, the hitting coach is now getting players to understand the shape and location of fastballs. So best hitter actually sucks. They weren't holding meetings the right way, and their hitters didn't know how to swing properly. And they've fixed those in the last 2 weeks. This is a huge story. And I'm scrolling through it, Dondero, and I'm scrolling through the story. And then I get to this part at the very end of the story, after all the description that we just laid out, right? New meetings, bad best hitter in the lineup, in Rafael Devers, all of it. It helps, of course, that the Red Sox have faced a number of struggling or unestablished starters during that time, with a nary sub 4.0 ERA among the last 7 starters. That also coincides with the group meetings, right? So is it the group meetings or the pitchers that you're going up against suck? It's the pitchers that you're going up against suck.
Bad pitchers are easier to hit. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if Tyler knows.
That would have been a really succinct way to write this article, by the way. Yeah, the starting pitchers that you've been going up against have blown recently.
I don't want.
I'm with him now. Like, I'm not buying this crap.
No. And they've just been too long where they've been going in the wrong direction.
You start writing these type of stupid stories, this is like, don't fool you.
I don't want to sound overly negative, and I haven't, like Tyler said, I'm enjoying what they've been doing. It's been fun, the offensive explosion, but here's what happens in baseball. Sometimes, especially when you factor in that the pitching or the quality of opponent goes way down, sometimes you just catch fire and you get hot, and hitting is absolutely contagious, and it's been that way for the Red Sox, and they're on a little stretch right now. Good for them, but are they going to be able to beat the good teams? Are they going to be able to play disciplined baseball and run the bases and not commit errors when it's a tight game, close game, good teams, quality opponents, big games? All of that is still up in the air. So I can't buy crap right now. I'm not buying crap. I'm not even going into the store.
How about lucking into 4 straight lefties when you have the second highest OPS in the sport against left-handed starters?
Also
That's
a factor.
pretty awesome, right? Like,
Also a factor.
We're going right up against what we do best, but you're going to see righties more regularly. You even go back to the Seattle series when they had to see righties, or even San Francisco, it was a problem. You saw guys getting beat. So, yeah, it's awesome that you've come into the stretch and you can only handle what's on the schedule. But you have to look at what's coming next on the schedule. And I think that's why you can't give real judgment until you start going through those games. Then show that this identity of this new team that you're building is real, that we can actually see it, because you've done plenty of dumb things in this series, whether it was Nate Eaton getting crossed up at third base 2 nights ago now. We talked about getting doubled off yesterday. Ceddanne Rafaela tagging up in a dumb spot. Like, those are going to still be very prevalent and be part of the convo.
For every fastball, tilt, or shape, you have to have a swing to cover that. We have ways of describing that for every guy based on their strengths. You don't have to solve baseball every time you go on a hot streak, and it feels like the Red Sox are so quick to always take credit for this type of stuff when it's like, again, just say, you know what? Yeah, we've had a good stretch here, and we've gone up against maybe some pitchers that we've been able to take advantage of.
It's like Christian Campbell. Look what hard work does. Look how it pays off. If you just follow the system and you listen and you apply yourself.
Yeah.
Even
How's
the
that going?
individualized meetings, like, I can give some credit to that. Like, last year they switched and it led that
being a
push
pro?
for
Being
a
a
couple
pro?
of months. No, but having these meetings instead of big picture stuff where everyone's sitting around, actually doing your job and going up to these young players who probably need it more than anyone, this one-on-one coaching where, maybe they're scared to explain certain things or questions they have. They don't want to say it in front of a group. Awesome. You did that last year and the offense absolutely plummeted in August through the end of the year, and it was the reason why you didn't make the playoffs at the very end. So cool that it's working for this stretch. Nobody's taking it seriously until you do it against better competition.
If the individualized meetings, Dondero, have really been that big of a difference, shouldn't the question be, why were we not doing individualized meetings while the offense was completely struggling early in the beginning of the
McKone,
season?
you're forgetting. Devers wouldn't let them. Come on. He would walk up if it was a
forgot that he
one-on-one
was that,
combo.
yes.
He'd smack Pete Fatsy and tell him to get out of the room.
Unbelievable.